Welcome to the Franklin County Varsity Sports Report. Live for the next half hour, join us as we provide you with all the scores, news, and updates to everything Franklin County sports. And now, here's your host, Bobby C.
Hello and welcome to the Franklin County Varsity Sports Report. I'm Bobby C. I hope you're doing well here today. Well, I want to let you know that they're winding down our special season for the regular season for boys and girls basketball and for hockey. Yep, that means what's up next are the playoffs. And we're also going to tribute our show here today to the late Chris Collins. Want to say thank you to Franklin First Federal Credit Union at franklinfirst.org. Also by Manny's TV and Appliance, with locations on River Street in Greenfield and Route 9 in Hadley, and by Albert Hearing Services, located at 33 Riddell Street in Greenfield, online at alberthearing.com. Well, folks, over the weekend, we lost a special man here in Franklin County, and he did many things. He wore many hats. One of the hats that he wore was being on the board of directors here at Greenfield Community Television. He also ran the FCAT, one of the stations that carries this show, Frontier Community Access Television. He was their director. And I must tell you, folks, that he passed away over the weekend, and we lost him at the age of 54. After we're done with our show here today, we are going to do a special tribute to the legendary Chris Collins. Why don't we get started? Well, in girls basketball last week, it was Athol taking on Mohawk, and let me tell you right now, it came down to a huge bucket for Athol as Riley Polona ended up being able to score the bucket to give Athol that 40-39 win. You know, that win was very suffering for the Mohawk girls because they are right on the cusp of being able to make the state tournament, and hopefully they're going to be able to pull that out, but this game could have been the one that cost them that opportunity. Well, we must tell you that the one thing that we have seen throughout the whole season from this Mohawk team is Stella Clark. Stella Clark has had a stellar season, and we're very, very proud of what she has been able to do. Her, Maya LaShore, they both have done an excellent job being able to carry their team throughout the year, and also a little bit of help in there as well from Octava Crawford. So those three ladies have been key elements to the success of Mohawk this year. Hopefully they will be able to get in the upcoming state tournament. Well, the Franklin County Tech girls took on the Pioneer girls, and the Pioneer girls officially got knocked out of the opportunity to play in the state tournament, so they will not be in the state tournament. And they had the Franklin County Tech girls up against the ropes. It was a very slow start, though, in this one. Final score was 33-29. Tech ends up winning. Caitlin Trudeau, she ended up having a game. And I'll tell you right now, folks, she was the person that got it done for her team. And it all happened in the second half. Caitlin Trudeau, let me tell you this, she went 9 for 14 from the free throw line. She ended up scoring all of her 14 points in the second half of the game. Hannah Gilbert ends up with 10, Leah Chapman with 6. You know, Leah also had 9 rebounds, and Emily Merritt ended up with 3 points in the win for the Tech girls. Haley Ring, she ended up with 15 points in the loss, while her sister and Whitney Dunkley ended up scoring 4 points for the Pioneer Panthers. Well, the Turners Falls girls, they have had an unbelievable season, and it continued last week as they took on Smith Academy. Final score was 38-24. The Turners Falls girls basketball team with that win. Well, let me tell you, they ended up being guaranteed at least a share of the title, but we'll give you more details on this coming up. Lily Spira ended up with 9 points for Turners Falls. Taylor Green, she ended up with 8. Maddie Lamatanian ended up with 7 points, and Abby Holloway with 6 in the victory for the girls at Turners Falls. So congratulations to them being able to at least last week be guaranteed share of the league title. Well, we all know about the Frontier girls. We've been talking about them throughout the whole winter. They continued their winning ways with a 52-25 win. Yep, they have been solid throughout the year as well. And the Frontier girls have been so solid that they are league champions in their division, which was wonderful to be able to hear. And we want you to know that we have some wonderful girls who have been able to really keep this team going, and that is Kylie LaFord. She ended up with 16 points in this one. Caitlin Mackin, who plays unbelievable defense, she still had 12 points on the offensive end. And Abby Howard ended up with 7 for Frontier, a very deep program, and very excited about seeing where this team goes in the upcoming tournament. Well, the Putnam girls are very good, and they had knocked off Greenfield. Final score was 46-31 in girls basketball last week. Lily Conkemeyer, well, she ended up having a nice day on Thursday night. She ended up with 17 points. Azamina Sesajanin, she ended up with 13 points. Score at halftime was Putnam 26, Greenfield 17. Final was 46 for Putnam, 31 for the Green Wave. Well, the MIAA had a chance to be able to release their power rankings in hockey, and I have information on that for you. That's right, we want to let you know that the way things are set up right now, Greenfield, believe it or not, is not in the top 32 in the state, but because of their record, they are guaranteed over 500, so they are going to be going to the state tournament. But here's the thing that people don't realize. They may not be in the top 32, but they play in a very, very good division. And here's what people don't realize. There is great hockey down in the Boston area. That is going to be something that's going to be very tricky for us this year. Now, if you remember, the GHS hockey team ended up winning a state title, which was unbelievable. And it rocked. I mean, that place was a rocking place when GHS won the hockey title. But here's the thing. When we get ready for the new upcoming state tournament, there are many programs down in the Boston area that have really performed very well. People don't realize this, but the state of Massachusetts is a hockey state. It's always been a hockey state. And the reason why is think about all of the great hockey colleges we have here in the state that are in Hockey East. You got Boston College. You got Boston University. You also have UMass, national champions. You're not done yet, though. You still have Merrimack. You still have UMass Lowell. You still have Northeastern. They're all in the state of Massachusetts. Yes, folks, hockey, very popular in the Commonwealth. Well, the boys hockey team ended up taking it on the chin to the number 2 ranked hockey program in good old Western Mass, and that's West Springfield. Final score was 7-2. The thing is they weren't afraid to take on the big dogs. They played Long Meadow, the number 1 seeded team in Western Mass. They played West Springfield, the number 2 team in Western Mass. They played Westfield, the number 4 team in Western Mass. The only one that they didn't play that was in the top 5 was the number 3 team, and that was Pope Francis. They did not play them, but they played everyone else. The thing is this year, they're relying on only a few guys to do the scoring, which is going to make it hard for them in the tournament. They might do okay in the Western Mass tournament, but I think they're going to really struggle in the state tournament this year, only because of the competition that this team is facing. You can't be good every single year. But GHS has proven that this hockey program is a real program, the real deal. You know, Trevor Kacheski has had an unbelievable year being able to score for his team. Sammy Knight has also had a great year. Shane Prusak has also been a big part of the offense as well. And unfortunately, they came up short, 7-2 last week. But this team, as I said, they are not in the top 32 in the state for their division in Division 4. But what they are is that they're over a 500 program, and they're guaranteed a spot in that tournament. Alpine skiing's been exciting, and I got to tell you, when it comes to Addie Loomis, she has been amazing this year. How amazing? How about that she, as an 8th grader, she ended up winning her 6th, let me say that again, her 6th consecutive individual win. That is amazing. They only have 6. That's it. They do 6 special meets because they only usually go for usually once a week. So it takes it right through the winter. But here's the funny thing. This girl right here is on her way to bigger and better. She is doing this as an 8th grader. That means that she still is going to have her freshman, sophomore, junior, and senior year to still continue to break records. And she has been able to lead her Mohawk team over at Berkshire East all winter long. Loomis had a time of 25.59 seconds, which was just a little bit before 26 seconds, of course, right? There you go. But here's the thing. She has a teammate who is just as good as her. Now, I admit that this is going to be the dominant factor of these teams is having young talent come back. Well, Emily Sissom is young as well, and she only lost by 0.2 seconds. 0.2. I mean, that close. But let me say this. Those girls are going to carry this Mohawk team in skiing. Also, there's a boy who's been very good too, and he has been excellent all year long for the boys team, and his name is Weston Den Oden. This guy right here has been at the top pretty much all winter long. Well, he ended up doing it again, and he did it with a time of 34.35 seconds. You know, if you really think about what we have for skiing in this area, the reason why Mohawk is good is because the hill is in their backyard. Literally, if you look out the school and you look up the mountain, you will see Berkshire East in Charlemont. You can't miss the big mountain, the beast. Well, these young athletes have done an amazing job attacking the beast in Western Mass. Well, the Mohawk girls Nordic ski team, well, they competed on Wednesday, and they went to a little town called Windsor. I bet you there's a lot of folks who probably never heard of Windsor, Mass, but there is. It's up in the Berkshires. And there's 3 girls who have been solid all year for the Mohawk team, and they all go to a different school. It's almost like the co-op program they have at Greenfield, where there's many different players from many different schools. Well, these 3 girls are from Hampshire Regional, but they're under the Mohawk team. Sylvie Mayen Moore has been unbelievable this year. Kayla Garado has had an amazing year, and so has an Ellie Munier. These 3 girls have been placing in the top 20 every single week throughout the winter. By the way, there's also a guy who does really well with the Nordic skiing from Mohawk, and his name is Vincent Gauthier, and he ended up with a top 20 finish this past week for the boys team. So the final week of winding down the ski season was this past week. Want to welcome you to a special edition of the Franklin County Varsity Sports Report. I'm Bobby C. Want to let you know that what we're doing here today is we're going to be doing our regular report, and then we're going to talk about Chris Collins. And what he's done for the community, what he's done for the sports community. And I'm going to bring up something else that maybe you didn't know. It's a you didn't know that we're going to share with you on the show as well. So let's get right into the next part of it here. Well, in boys basketball, there was a game on Friday night, and I had a chance to be a part of it. And I want to tell you something. This game had a lot of twists and turns. And I'll tell you the biggest part was that when the Pioneer team was twisted, they found a way to turn to get out of it. And they almost pulled off an amazing victory against Frontier in boys basketball. And I want to share this story with you. 7 wins in a row for Frontier as of that game that they had over at Goodnoe Gymnasium, where they picked up a 64-58 win. That's right, they won by 6. But here's the thing. This Pioneer team, they only suited 7, but they only played 6. They were only going to be able to suit 6, but then they decided to suit 7 just in case someone got into foul trouble. But here's the thing. Out of those 6 kids that were playing, 3 of those kids were freshmen. That's right. Out of 6 kids, 3 were freshmen. Going up against a senior-laden team with 9 seniors at Frontier. And it was senior night at Frontier, and the place was rocking. Let's put it to you this way, that when Frontier came out, they came out and they sort of popped them right in the head. Literally. They were physical, they were pushing them around, and they were leading 40-26 at halftime. They were leading by 14. We're thinking 80, 50, 30-point loss. Going to be a tough game. Going to be tough when a lot of your great players aren't suited up for Pioneer. Let's get into the second half. Well, in the second half, all of a sudden Pioneer started making shots. Think about this. They scored 26 points in the first half, right? Well, they scored 32 in the second half. That was a big help. But Frontier has a guy who's big, strong, and was able to dominate down low. And unfortunately for Josh Wood from Pioneer, he had no help. He had no Jaden Fox. He didn't have the opportunity to be able to utilize his body of what he is able to bring to the table. Unfortunately, not having the help of some extra big guys, Joe Thompson ended up pretty much dominating down low for Frontier and ended up with 19 points. But here's the thing. Josh Wood, he went on fire himself on the other end. He ended up with 19 points for Pioneer. Then Patrick Boyden, the senior, ends up with 12 points. Aiden Drury with 10. Danny Fellows with 8. Ian Sperance, the senior, ends up with 6, plays amazing defense. And Frontier was able to hold on. But Josh Wood, freshman, 19. Braden Fair, freshman, 15. Ryan Potter ends up with 12 points. Gavin Gamel, the other freshman, he was their point guard. He led the way with a ton of assists and was able to be the general on the court for an undermanned Pioneer team. It was a gutsy, excellent game to watch. And the best part about it is if you're a fan of community access television, it's available on our friends, the FCAT's YouTube page. And you should check it out because you can see a gutsy performance from these young players. Well, the Greenfield boys, they're going to the tournament, and they have young players that are getting it done for them as well. Yes, they pulled off a 62-58 win, and that was over at Nichols Gymnasium this past week on Friday night over Mahar. David Carey, Brendan Driscoll, each had 14. But there's 2 other guys on that team that are freshmen, and they are so good. They are so good. and that's Caleb Murray and John Breer. Caleb ended up with 11. Breer ended up with 10. Those two young players are part of the future with a JV program that literally only lost one game this past year. All those JV kids are all coming up to replace the seniors that are leaving. They'll also have Breer and Caleb Murray. Murray is a great point guard. And Jackson Campbell will be coming up as well. Tell you right now, folks, Greenfield Hoop could be very good over the next 4 to 5 years. In girls basketball, it was a very undermanned Franklin County Tech team, and they really found out how hard it was to not have their special point guard leader in Kendra Campbell. Kendra has had a really tough year this year. She's been injured. She also ended up with a COVID situation as well. So it was a very unfortunate year for Kendra Campbell. And right now, with her being out with her bad ankle injury, they weren't able to get it done by losing her offensive points and not having anyone to be able to handle the ball. Final score was Mount Everett 48, Franklin County Tech girls 26. Goes to show you how important it is to have somebody who can handle the ball. Caitlin Trudeau, she continues her great play. She ends up with 10 points for the Tech. Also, Leah Chapman, 8 points. Cordelia Guerin, Hannah Gilbert, Emily Ryan, and Faith Smith, they each had 2. By the way, Emily Ryan also had 11 rebounds in the loss. Well, it was the best test to find out how good this Turner's girls program is. They took on a powerhouse, undefeated, amazingly coached East Hampton girls. Final score was 52 to 26. Turner's came up on the short end. This East Hampton team is going to make some noise, not only in Western Mass, but they're going to make a lot of noise in the upcoming state tournament. And their coach, Coach Miller, is amazing. He is a great coach. He has had many winning coaches with the boys program, and he took over the girls program, and boy, look where they're at today. East Hampton built up a 30-8 halftime lead, and then they just pulled away from there. Taylor Green, she has been shooting the ball so well since she's come back from her injury, and she ended up with 8 points. Emily Young with 7 points. Lily Spira ends up with 3 in the losing effort. But this Turner's team, that was a good test for them last Friday, taking on East Hampton. Well, we talk about wrestling, but we have to remember that a lot of these are tri-meets or 4 teams that are competing at once, and there's not a lot to the wrestling regular season. They might get maybe 5 or 6 matches, and then they go right into the tournament. Well, guess what? The Western Mass Division III Sectional Wrestling Tournament, it took place this past weekend. And Franklin County Tech's Josh Brunel, well, he ended up having an amazing weekend. Brunel entered the day as the number 1 seed at 145 pounds, and he ended up winning by pin in the quarterfinals, won by a pin in the semifinals, and then he ended up picking up a 9-5 victory in the championship, and Josh Brunel gets to join his brother Kyle as Western Mass champions in the rafters of the Franklin County Tech School gym. How cool is that? Brunel says that he was really excited. He said it was nice to be able to share the banner and be on there with his brother. Now it's off to the States this weekend, and I am ready to go on Saturday. With the win, Brunel gets to be part of the tournament that'll be taking place in Fitchburg, and it will start Friday this week as we do our show here on a Tuesday. They will be doing the wrestling tournament for a 2-day stay on Friday and Saturday down in Fitchburg. You know, there was someone else who ended up being lucky enough to continue for the Franklin County Tech School as well. That's right. Yep, they have another guy who will be joining, John Santiago. He ended up placing 4th in the 106-pound class. So him and Burnell will be going to the States this weekend. So congratulations goes out to John Santiago, who placed 4th in the 106-pound class. You know, there's not just the Franklin County Tech School that has the opportunity to be able to wrestle locally. We got our friends over at Frontier. Well, let's talk about them because they were part of that sectional tournament as well. Yep, on Saturday, Frontier's Peyton Sadowski ended up first place and winning the 120-pound weight class. He said it was such a great feeling to win, and he was so excited about being able to have the opportunity in his senior year to be able to win his class. And now he is excited to be going to the States, and he is friends with Burnell and the other players in this area who wrestle, because who are you going to wrestle against but only the folks that are in your group, in your area. These are the teams that play each other. Well, Frontier's Jake Mattson, he ended up losing in the finals in the 195 class, so that means he was a runner-up. So he's going to the States. Also, there's someone else from Frontier that'll be joining them as well, and that is Ian Pachurik. He ended up placing 4th in the 113-pound class. And also, Wyatt Finch ended up 3rd in the 106-pound class. Yep, him and Santiago for this area will be represented in that 106-pound class. All those gentlemen will be going to the States in wrestling this weekend. Mohawk had one that is going to be able to join, and that is pretty cool. And then there was someone else who was able to pull things out for the Mohawk team. Yep, Will Van Fleet. He will be representing the 220-pound class as he had himself a day. Yep, 3 pins. He was a Western Mass champion. So a Western Mass championship goes to Sadowski of Frontier, Burnell from the Franklin County Tech School, and 1 for Mohawk with Van Vliet. And he not only had a great day, but so did Logan Moore. Logan Moore is a 3rd seed because he ended up doing well at the 132-pound weight class. So all those gentlemen will be representing Franklin County on Saturday in Fitchburg. Congratulations to those gentlemen. Well, after that tough game that the Pioneer boys had against Frontier on Friday night, they had to get up on Saturday morning and do it all over again. And they took on the Millionaires of Lenox, and unfortunately, they came up short in overtime. Losing by 6 to Frontier on the road, they go back to the Berkshires the next morning, and they lose in overtime 58-49. Like I said, shorthanded, 3 freshmen. They gave it everything they had. Freshman, Braden Thayer, he ended up with 13 points and 7 rebounds. Josh Wood with 11 points. He had 10 rebounds. Ryan Potter, 8 points, 13 rebounds. Jaden Fox ended up scoring 6 in the cause as he was able to return on Saturday. Smith Academy proved how good they are when they play their stifling defense. And they knocked off the Franklin County Tech boys team, which right now are sitting up against the ropes of being able to make the state tournament. Final score was 69-29. Smith Academy pulled off an easy win. They were leading at halftime 37-12. Robert Murphy ended up with 9 points for the Tech Eagles. Ty Sadowski, the top scorer in all of Franklin County, well, he was only held to 7 points. And Also, Ty LaFountain ended up with 5 points in the loss for the Tech. Well, like I said, that Putnam girls basketball team is pretty good. They knocked off the Pioneer girls. They had a game on Saturday. After Pioneer ended up losing that heartbreaker to the Franklin County Tech School, well, they end up getting beat by Putnam 49-25. Haley Ring ended up with 7 points for Pioneer. Her sister Caroline Ring ended up with 4. Whitney Dunkley ended up with 3 points in the loss. Well, there was a big game that happened over the weekend as the East Long Meadow hockey team, another really good hockey program in Western Mass, where Greenfield had to go up against a better team. But Greenfield hung in there. Really, it was a 3-0 lead after 2 periods. And all of a sudden, Greenfield tacked on 2 to make it 3-2, but it wasn't enough, as that ended up being the final 3-2 East Long Meadow with the win over Greenfield. Greenfield's goals, well, they came in late in the second period and in the third period, as Trevor Kacheski and Derek Wisman each scored a goal on the loss, and Shane Prusak, Matt Lavoine, and Dylan Archer each had assists. I'll tell you right now, Josh Bordeaux has also had an excellent year between the pipes for the Green Wave. Well, after there was a game that was played between Smith Academy and the Franklin County Tech boys, in a game that was played over there at the Tech School in a really one-day separation between the first and the second matchup. It was almost identical, but maybe a little better for the Tech, as they got beat by Smith Academy for the second time within 3 days, 52-37. Smith Academy ended up picking up that big win, but I got to tell you what, the Tech boys were only down by 1. They were literally only down by 1 at halftime, and that's when Smith Academy turned everything on. And man, when they did that, that's when things really started to fall off. The wheels literally were falling off from the Tech boys. Ty Sadowski, after only having 7 points the first meeting, ends up with 19 in the second. Tyler Fountain ended up with 7. Noah Ostakaitis ended up with 5. Tell you right now, folks, Franklin County Tech boys are in a very tough situation if they want to get in to the state tournament. Well, the Athol boys, they've only gotten better. That's the one thing that we have seen about this team is that they are really starting to improve. And they knocked off Turner's Falls in a game that they ended up having last night. Final score was 73-34. 11 different players were able to score for Athol. They led 37-22 at halftime, and they also outscored the Thunder 36-12 in the second half. Unfortunately, the Turner's Falls boys basketball team, folks, are 0-17. 1 game left of the year. They're sitting at, unfortunately, going winless in this year. And that would be really sad. But Levin Prondecki's had a good year for his team. He ended up with 13 in the loss. Devin Sloan ended up with 7. J.J. Charles, he ended up going for 6. So a tough year for the Turner's Falls boys basketball team. Well, it turned out to be a thriller over at Nichols Gymnasium. That's right. Matter of fact, I could hear Philippe Simone. I could hear him yelling from his apartment up in the West County when he ended up hearing that Lily Kacklemeyer ended up hitting a clutch shot, draining a huge three-pointer from the left arc as Greenfield picked up a thrilling win over Pioneer 41-38. Coach Hickey says it was a big shot. She ran the floor. She did it really well. She's made some big shots throughout the game already. That shot at the end of the game was the game changer and the difference on how we were able to escape with the 3-point win. Kackelmeyer ended up with 21 points on the night last night. Azamina Sesajanin, she ended up with 10. For Pioneer, Caroline Ring ends up with 17 points. Whitney Dunkley with 10. She pulled down 12 rebounds. Also, Haley Ring ends up with 11 in the loss for Pioneer. What a thrilling game that was at Nichols Gymnasium last night. Well, the Turners Falls girls, they end up easily beating Athol last night, a game that I was at. Must tell you that it was an exciting night for the Lady Thunder. Why? Because they officially won the Franklin County South League title. That's right. They won the title last night with a 43-21 win over Athol at home. Turners played dominant defense. Matter of fact, at the end of the first quarter, it was 17-0 Turners. They dominated. They ended up doing everything well. Coach Jim Cadron, he played every single girl on his team with them being on the line of having a championship crown. Yep, he played everyone, and he's realizing that these girls need to be ready. They need to be prime for the upcoming tournament. Well, Taylor Green, she was on fire in that first half. She ended up with 13 points. She ended up not playing as much in the second half because they won so well. Lily Spira, Emily Young, they each had 10. Holly Myers ended up with 4 points for Turners Falls in the win. Well, one of the top girls basketball programs here in Western Massachusetts is South Hadley. They are very good, the Lady Tigers. Well, Frontier and the Frontier girls got to find out what it was like to play against one of the top programs in the area, and the final score was 39-32. But here's the thing. The Frontier girls were leading at the end of the first half, 21-13. 2 minutes left in the second quarter. Well, that's when South Hadley went on a 24-3 run and pulled off that 7-point victory. So, you ask yourself, is the Frontier girls team good enough to be able to beat a team like South Hadley? Yes! But when you break down and you end up having the other team go on a 24-3 run, that's where you end up losing the game. Well, in boys basketball, these poor Pioneer boys, after having to play up in the Berkshires against Lenox, having to play down at Frontier on Friday in a hostile environment with 9 seniors against some really good basketball programs, well, guess what? They had to go back to the Berkshires to take on one of the top teams in all of Western Massachusetts, Drury. But they stuck with them, with the 3 freshmen, undermanned. Final score was Drury 72, Pioneer 59. Listen, they're taking on heavyweights and they're barely losing, and they got 3 freshmen that are all going to be here to play together for another 3 seasons. Drury jumped off to a 35-18 lead at half, and then they just ended up getting a little bit better, being able to continue to stay strong in front of the home crowd and pulled off the win. Freshman Braden Thayer, 20 points. The freshman also had 4 rebounds, 3 steals. Gavin Gamel, freshman, 11 points. Sean Allen, one of their older guys on the team. Him, Josh Wood, also freshman, 7 points. Alex McClellan, sophomore, ended up with 5. Yeah, forgot to tell you that too, didn't I? Alex McClellan, sophomore. 3 freshmen, sophomore, 3 games, 4 days, and they went up against 2 of the top teams in Western Mass and one that's right about as good as Pioneer. Impressive week, even though they ended up losing all 3. Impressive week for the Pioneer boys basketball team. Well, let's talk a little bit about where we stand, speaking of the state tournament. Now, this right here are the boys' teams, okay? Let's talk about the boys' teams. And here are the teams on where they stand for the state tournament. Top 32 teams or a 500 record get you in. Frontier, the boys, they're ranked 16th in the state in Division 4. In Division 5, taking on all these tougher teams, Pioneer is now at 500 because they lost 3 in a row at 8-8. They're ranked number 12 in Division 5. Greenfield is ranked number 19th in Division 5. The outside looking in is the Franklin County Tech boys. They are in a must-win game. They play tomorrow night against Mahar. Let's talk about the girls. Division 4 in the state, ranked number 15, Frontier. Now, all these other teams, here's where they stand as of last Thursday. This is Division 5 girls in the state. Top 32 make it. Turner's girls, they're ranked 12th in Division 5. Franklin County Tech girls, they lost 2. They were at number 20. Pioneer girls, they were at number 27. With the 3 losses this past week, the Pioneer girls are out of the state tournament under Coach Mike Churchill. Greenfield girls, picking up a couple of key wins, they were number 31. They could probably move in to where Pioneer was, sitting at number 27 or number 26, which would guarantee them a spot. Now, looking out and needing a win for any kind of a chance are the Mohawk girls. They are looking on the outside because they are ranked, as of last Thursday, 36. Well, there you have it. That right there is what is going on for our sports here in Franklin County. We are in our final week of the regular season as we get ready for the Western Mass Tournament and, of course, the state tournament. I want to say thank you to, once again, our producers, Philippe Simone, and also to John Meisner. And I want to let you know that both those guys had a connection with Chris Collins as well. I'm going to share a story that was set up through Greenfield Community Television, and then I'm going to share my story of what I have with Chris Collins, and then a little something that we're going to end it with his wife, Barb. GTTV joins our friends and neighbors in mourning the passing of Chris Collins. His contributions to the community cannot be overstated. Over the years, Chris has been a huge part of Greenfield Community Television. A radio host, guest mentor, peer. Also, he was even a board member. In addition to all the work that Chris put in with WHAI, WHMP, Bear Country, the FCAT, and others, his involvement with Greenfield Community Television was long and varied. He got his start in public access television back in 1992 here at GCTV, covering local news and sports. He also did a cool show that everybody loved called Political Potpourri. He also did the Beacon Hill updates. You know, back in those days, we had Stan Rosenberg, and Stan the Man always loved to be able to be a guest on the show with Chris Collins. You know what else he did? He did something that everyone loved through the Greenfield Recorder called In the Arena. That was every Friday. People would literally buy an extra paper on Friday just to enjoy Chris Collins special updates on what was happening politically here in Franklin County. It was a very popular piece, and unfortunately, due to budget cuts, the Greenfield Recorder decided to get rid of In the Arena, which I think was probably one of the worst moves that they ever made. From there on, he continued his career, and he ended up being able to be the station manager at Frontier Community Access Television. And by the way, folks, we are very fortunate to have a wonderful collaboration of sports between GCTV and the FCAT. And it's because of Chris Collins, board member here, cares about this community, wanted to make sure that he could work with, believe it or not, our guy that's sitting in the booth, one of them, and Philippe Simone, who was able to, and he still is, working with the FCAT. They're probably going to need Philippe a little bit more now with the passing of Chris Collins and being able to have him be part of the team with Kevin Murphy and the Ekman. They've done an amazing job down there, and they were also working well with the director, the late Chris Collins. Well, over the years, there was a special show called Beyond the Headlines, which ran on WHAI in Bear Country and also on the radio station here through Greenfield Community Television, WMCB. That's 107.9 FM. That's right, Chris was able to run that show. He is one of those guys who just was able to do so much and did it because he loved it. And he also produced a special show with the Money Doctor, Francis Rayam. Yep, he is just someone that was about media, community, and to be able to mentor as many people as he could to be able to help those folks have the chance that he had. One of the things that he has that most people won't is the passion for journalism. His mind of what he's able to comprehend up there and put it on paper was amazing. I always said that Chris Collins was one of the smartest people I ever met. And Greenfield Community Television wants everyone to know that they appreciated everything that Chris did for them and that his dedication, his insights, and what he did for this particular place will be sadly missed. From everyone at Greenfield Community Television, they want to send their condolences to his wife, Barb, also to the Collins family. Let me talk about my story. I've been in radio for 39 years, folks, and Chris Collins and I have been friends since we were little. Back when Chris was younger, both him and I had an opportunity to be able to go on a radio station on the campus of Deerfield Academy called WGAJ. And in the summer of 1983, I had the opportunity to be able to start my own show. And that is when I started radio. So if you think about it, next August will be 40 years of me in the radio business. After I had a chance to learn a summer of being able to do it, the next summer when I went back in '84, Chris says to me, how can I get involved in being on the radio? And we worked it out with a gentleman by the name of Jim Hemingway and also Brock Hines, who is the color for UMass hockey. He has been the color guy for radio down there for years. Well, they helped get us in, and we both were able to get a start at WGAJ in high school over at Deerfield Academy. Him and I end up enjoying the time that we had down there, and then I got an internship in 1984 at WHAI while I was in school. Chris Collins was so excited about that, he wanted to know, how can you get me into WHAI? Guess what, folks? He followed into WHAI with me, and the Higas family hired Bobby C., Chris Collins, and also Jeff Terrell to join the team. As time went on, Chris Collins decided to stay on with WHAI, and I left. And I ended up leaving to go to WHMP 99.3 in Northampton, where I was a DJ down there for 10 years. Funny thing is, I left there in 1997. So in 97, where did I go? I come back to WHAI. Well, I'm back at WHAI again with Chris Collins. Of course, he's the newsman, and I'm a DJ. And we've continued our working relationship. Well, as time went on, there was an opportunity because Saga Communications ended up buying out the Higas family, and all of a sudden they had a cluster of radio stations, and Chris Collins applied for the job as program director at WHMP in Northampton. So he goes back to where I was, and he was the program director at WHMP. As time went on, we both still saw each other every weekend because Chris had Beyond the Headlines. That was his weekly show that he did on the radio. So when I went in to do Flashback to the 70s and 80s, my weekly radio show that I did for 23 years, Chris was putting his show together. So we'd see each other every weekend, even though he was in Northampton and I was working in Greenfield. Our friendship has always been a wonderful bond. And to be able to share a radio career together with my best friend was really exciting. And another guy is Jeff Terrell. And a lot of people don't know this story. Jeff Terrell and I, our moms were in the same room together, and we were born on the same day, parents in the same room, and I was 2 hours earlier than Jeff Terrell. Jeff Terrell and I, literally born on the same day, shared a career together in radio, broadcast partners on high school basketball, softball, and baseball today, and have been able to keep a special bond and friendship. And our sidekick with us, all part of the triangle, was Chris Collins. You know, we shared a lot, Chris Collins and I. We shared food, because we love to eat. We shared fun, which we love to have. We shared radio, which was our passion. And we shared sports. And I had a chance to be able to help him many, many times down at the FCAT, where him and I worked together as broadcast partners. And then whenever Jeff wasn't available, him and I did the sports for Bear Country together. He left a very special woman, his wife, Barb. Barb and him were like this. Of course, they have a beautiful dog named Jack. Everyone loves Jack. The good thing about Jack is going to be with Mom. But Jack loved going to work with Dad. Jack always knew that when Dad put the jacket on, it was time to go to the office. And Jack would go to the office with Chris. One of the hardest things for me is the fact that I lost my friend. But Barb, she lost her soulmate. And she was there until his last breath. I'm going to miss my friend Chris Collins. And the one thing that's going to be the hardest for me is the fact that I'm going to miss the humor and the wit that he always had to offer. I used to tell people all the time, funny, funny man. But the one thing that Chris Collins will always have, that I will never have, is his knowledge. But I became a smarter man because of him. I learned more about local politics from Chris Collins than any other person. And you know why? Because he put the time, the effort into it. I had the opportunity to be able to be interviewed by WNPR, and they asked me, how would you describe Chris Collins? I said, very simple. He's truthful. The honesty is always there. He is a straight shooter. He'll tell you exactly how it is, whether you like it or not, because he is a straight shooter. And the most important thing is that he loved his community. Chris could have gone to bigger and better. There is no doubt in my mind that Chris Collins could not have been a bureau worker in Washington, D.C., working for big-time places. But he decided to stay here in his community. His father and mother were a huge part of the Collins Moylan Arena, which is named after his family. Yep, the Greenfield rink over there next to Greenfield High School is called the Collins Moylan Arena. And the Collins part of it is because of his father, Ralph, and his mother, Patsy. They were a huge part of the growth of hockey in this area. Chris was an excellent goalie. He went many years. He also was able to play hockey at Eaglebrook. Chris Collins also played soccer. He loved soccer. He played for Greenfield Community College when he first came out of high school. And then he went to one of the most prestigious colleges in the country for broadcasting and for journalism, Emerson College in Boston. He's my brother. I have my brothers, and then I have what I call my brothers from another mother. We've had that saying for years, and that's Jeff Terrell and Chris Collins. Very honored to be able to share this tribute for my friend. As I get ready to close, this was from his wife, Barb. An angel has gained his wings today. Please know that all your thoughts and prayers have meant the world to me and to my late husband. Chris is no longer suffering and has joined his parents, but I have no doubt that he'll be looking out for his friends. Family, for me, is our buddy Jack. I want to thank his brothers and his sisters, my brother, my parents, for all the support. I'm going to take tonight to pray and reflect on the wonderful life that I had with my soulmate, Chris. They had a nickname for each other, and her final words were, "Until we meet again, dude." Thank you for tuning in to the Franklin County Varsity Sports Report. I hope you enjoyed this special show that we were able to present to you. And remember, enjoy your life. Take the time for yourself. And remember, your health is number one. If we don't have our health, we will not be here. Thank you to Lisa Albert of Albert Hearing Services, 33 Riddell Street in Greenfield. Also to Manny's TV and Appliance, River Street in Greenfield, Route 9 in Hadley, and by Franklin First Federal Credit Union, Newton Street in Greenfield, online at franklinfirst.org. For Philippe Simone, for Johnny Meisner, I'm Bobby C. Thank you for tuning in to a special edition of the Franklin County Varsity Sports Report. Take care of yourself and each other.